My name is Tyler Cloward. I am the Director of Product here at Fezzari Bicycles. Excited about our new Solitude. Our new Solitude has been in the work for several years. We've had the Solitude line. This is really our carbon hardtail line. It's been everything from our race bike to we've had some people put longer forks on it and make it kind of a carbon hardtail trail bike. We completely revamped it for this year, and we wanted to make it really that race bike. Cross-country racing is getting bigger. We're seeing huge growth in numbers from the high school NICA scene, but also as people are getting more athletic, we see a lot of people transitioning from road bikes over to cross-country. And so we really needed to step up our game in the hardtail cross-country market. And that's really why we built this new Solitude. We've had a lot of development over the recent years in our carbon fiber, in our processes of how we're laying fiber, how we're designing molds, how we're designing geometry. We've been innovative in geometry design with seat tube angles and a few things like that. And we wanted to bring all of that collective knowledge over the previous years and put it into this new race bike, which is our new Solitude. This is one I'm really excited about personally, just because of the development we have created on this layup. If you've seen some of our other models on a road bike, if you look at our Empire, which is kind of our all-road road bike, we have a new technology called Monoform. Why that matters is it is a true one-piece frame. You hear the word monocoque or some other name about the bike. Monocoque means one piece, but actually a lot of those frames, and we've done this previously, clear back all the way to 2008, 2009, 2010, since we've been making carbon bikes. Monocoque is really two pieces. You have a front triangle mold and you actually have a rear triangle mold, and those pieces are cured and they're actually machined and then they're bonded together, wrapped with some extra carbon fiber to strengthen them, and they're cured again. They go through an alignment phase, and that's worked really well. That can be efficient on production. Allows us to use a little bit smaller curing oven. But the downside of that is it doesn't allow us to control what's happening through the seat stay and the chain stay. Typically on a monocoque frame is you have that rear triangle coming together, and that front triangle coming together. It creates a lug in the seat stay and the chain stay. With Monoform technology, we have figured out a way to make the frame truly one piece. It is one mold per size. It is entire front triangle, rear triangle, laid up and cured all at the same time. There's no lugs, there's no extra bonding, there's no extra machining, there's no extra alignment and curing. It's a huge leap forward, in carbon fiber. It allows us to tune that bike all the way through that chain stay. Carbon fiber works really well when it's long continuous fibers. The less joints that we have, the less start and stop of the fiber pieces of the fiber layup, the better we can control what's happening in that frame, as far as making it stiff for power transfer, getting it to not flex, but also getting it to flex where we want it to flex. That is the advantage of Monoform technology. We've had to work really hard with our manufacturing partners to make sure the factories are set up to do that, because the molds on these things are huge. And so we had to make sure we could work with a manufacturing partner that had curing ovens and CNC machines that allowed us to make these molds really, really big. It changes our curing times on things, but the ride quality we're getting out of the frames, really from testing data of what we're finding on stiffness testing, but also riders. We've won some Bike of the Year awards on Empire because of that, our road bike, and we've transitioned a lot of that technology into this new Solitude, but then also adapted that to cross-country racing. Monoform technology allows us to reduce the weight because we don't have those extra joints, so we're looking at a sub 1,000 gram frame weight on the Solitude. It also allows us to take those carbon fibers and we can change the direction of the layup. So through that chainstay, we don't want chainstays moving. We want those very, very stiff. That is allowing us to get all the power transfer. So when you're standing up, and going for that pass before into a corner, or on the uphill sprint or off the starting line or something like that, with Monoform and the Solitude, you can be assured that all that power, all those watts you're putting into those pedals is going directly to that rear wheel because that frame is so efficient. At the same time, also allows us to adjust the tuning in the seat stay as well as the top tube. So, being a hardtail, you're not suspended on the rear. As you get through those rougher sections, it can handle that. That is the beauty of Monoform, is changing and adjusting all of that. The other advantage of Monoform is we're making a much stronger frame. It often was the norm in testing, kind of required fatigue testing and strength testing on frames. We would do kind of a front impact test. You put a whole bunch of weight on the frame in certain areas, head tubes, bottom bracket, seat tubes, and we would pick the frame up and we would just drop it. So that simulates, coming off a drop, a jump, rocks or anything, logs coming up and hitting the frame. We want that frame strong. that's really kind of all what the tests are required. We've actually added extra tests into this. One of the big tests that we've put onto this bike is a rear impact test. So usually when you head off a jump, it's not just the front wheel coming up, everything's coming down, or we've seen riders that aren't landing straight or things like that. So we actually do a full rear impact test, put a whole bunch of weight all over the frame, and we're picking that bike up. We're actually testing this Solitude to where we're testing a lot of our trail bikes. So not only is it extremely light at under 1,000 grams for the frame weight, but it's also very, very, very strong. It's meant and designed to withstand those big, heavy impacts. As we're seeing cross-country tracks and courses get so much rougher, it's able to withhandle that. Or, it's sometimes there's, a little bit of rider error that, you may not get through a section how you were intending to. That strength is there. And it's because of this technology, we're able to offer a lifetime warranty on this frame. We're so confident with what we're able to do in our layups that, yeah, we'll back that. If something happens to that frame, some kind of manufacturing defect or anything like that, we're here to cover it. That's one of the advantages that we're able to do into our technology as well. So Monoform, it gets us, a weight advantage, a strength advantage, but also on a manufacturing level. We're able to cut out 5 manufacturing steps, with machining and bonding. So that allows us actually to have a more consistent product over greater of numbers, which, in the long run, dramatically reduces any potential rework that you see in manufacturing. We don't have to worry about rear triangle alignment because it's coming out of the mold fully aligned. With monocoque frame designs and things like that, you have the potential of, a machining error or, alignment or a bonding or something moving in an oven on a second cure, things like that. With Monoform, it is coming out of those molds fully aligned, ready to go, which is a huge advantage from a manufacturing standpoint. The bike can really help you get through those rougher sections a little bit quicker. This is a bike that we're really excited about. Monoform is a huge technology for us. But then we've also added a lot of our other technologies into the bike. Our clean catch cable system keeps everything nice and tidy on any of those cables. We're trying to think forward thinking on this bike of, making sure, there's dropper compatibility. You'll even see stuff on this. You'll have single speed setups available on this bike as well for those type of real racers that want to get out on that type of stuff. We've also done some testing, internally with a little bit longer fork. So people that are wanting maybe not the real rowdy trail bike, but something a little more on, I joke and use the term fun country bike. So it's a little bit longer travel that still will pedal very, very well, but that can handle a little more trail riding versus, the pure XC race bike. So the geometry of the new Solitude is something that we actually worked on quite a bit and ran some testing. We used some things from our Wasatch, which is our alloy hardtail, to be able to test different things of what was happening, over different courses and different test sections with seat tube angles and head tube angles and a few things like that. So if you're looking at the geometry numbers, we're not clear out there totally progressive, and that's on purpose. We're not building a 65-degree head tube race hardtail. We really settled in on that 68 number with that 100mm fork. And we have found with the racers that we worked with, the internal testing that we've done here, that number, that 68 head tube number, that is giving us stability. The other thing too, if you're looking at cross-country tracks, a lot of them are tight, a lot of them are twisty. So that 68 number that we settled on the head tube angle, that is allowing the rider to be able to get through those corners quick. It gives that fast maneuvering feel. That's why we came up with that number. We are going to see some people put a little bit longer, maybe 120 fork, or it wouldn't surprise me if we see somebody, buying a frame set and getting their own 130 or 140 fork on the bike, which will get you into that 67-degree head tube angle for a little more trail feel, which does behave, really well. The other thing we did on this bike compared to where we've been previously on the Solitude is we did lengthen the reaches. We were seeing, through our 23-point custom setup that a lot of riders on our previous bike were in that, 80, 90, 100mm stem length. And it's worked, but riding is changing. And so what we have done, we have lengthened our top tube, and that's allowed us to really shorten those stems. And the advantage of that is we're really getting that reach to put that rider in that powerful position, but with that shorter stem on the bike, that's allowing for that faster handling. So we're getting the stability of that bike, but still allowing faster handling with that shorter stem. And that really goes in with the head tube. Stability of a bike isn't all about a head tube angle. It's a product of all of the numbers. What's happening with that wheelbase, what's happening with that top tube, what's happening with that reach, what's happening with that stack height, and bringing all of those, those variables together to build a bike that's getting the stability and cornering and handling that we were really aiming for, in a race bike. We've got our seat tube angle at the 75-degree mark. We found that being really efficient, but still allowing a racer to get in a position where they can get a little bit lower, a little bit more aerodynamic on this bike. We're finding that, yeah, there are some people that are taking a hardtail and racing a 100-mile race on. But for the most part, in general, we're seeing a little bit shorter races, 20, 30, 50 miles, depending on the course. With Monoform, in conjunction with that hardtail, we do have the comfort that for that fit rider, yeah, go do that 100-mile race on it. But having that 75-degree seat tube angles, getting that rider, still in a very aggressive position, up over the pedals, something that's going to get them, being able to stand up and attack and a few things like that. The 430 chainstays that we put on this bike, again, goes into that equation of making sure this bike is very maneuverable, very fast. And that's, it's kind of why we settled on those numbers with the testing that we've done over the years. So we're really confident and happy with how the geometry turned out in this bike. The rider feedback that we've had has been phenomenal. We have some employees here that have been testing the bike over the last, year or so in races, on big marathon rides, and a few things like that. And the feedback that we've had on this bike, it's been phenomenal. I can think of one tester in particular. They've gone through this bike, and it's funny that they're like, yeah, you guys put some kind of magic into this bike, because the power transfer I'm getting out of this thing, I'm PRing everything, on all of my local climbs and my training routes, and I'm not even putting out max effort on this type of stuff. So the power transfer, in conjunction with the geometry, is really equated for those faster times, that more efficient bike, that more comfortable bike, but something that's still very racy, very quick, and can really handle those longer rides. So with every Fezzari bike, we do offer our 23-point custom setup. With that, we're gonna get a bunch of measurements from you, the rider, and we're gonna learn how you're riding, where you're riding, what's important to you on a bike. And we are gonna go and we're gonna adjust everything on the bike. We're gonna make sure that we get the proper stem length, the stack height, the bar width, the crank arm length, the seat post length, to make sure that you have the fastest, most comfortable race bike that we can get you. Along with that 23-point custom setup, we can go in and we can adjust, brake reach and rotor size and a few things like that. Every single bike is also expertly assembled. We have a team of technicians here with years and years of experience in the industry that are fully assembling the bikes, test riding the bikes, and making sure the bike is fit to you. So when you get the bike out of the box, it's ready to go. We back every single bike with a lifetime warranty. We're here to support you.